What's up, everyone? So very important topic today. This is going to be how to assess a source in the fitness industry. So given the recent events where the biggest YouTuber has been caught with fake plates, the big question is, how do we know who to trust? How do we know where to get our information from? If the biggest guy was caught lying on camera for many years to millions of people, what are the implications of this? The first one is going to be the use of primary sources. So this is going to be studies, research, science, meta-analyses, something that is actually scientific. If they claim to be an evidence-based coach or a science-based coach, or if their motto is putting the science back in strength, they should be citing research. They should be actually using science on a regular basis. If they are not, if they literally never reference science, and yet they claim to be a science-based coach, that is a big problem. If they do not claim to be based in science and they don't reference science, that is fine. Someone like John Meadows is more of an experience-based coach. So a lot of his content is based on his own experience, and that's completely fine because he doesn't really claim to be based in science. He doesn't have putting the science back in strength up on his wall, as far as I know. So if you're based in science, you need to reference science. If you're not based in science, then it's fine. You can reference anecdote or your own personal or client experiences. And that's completely fine. But it's dishonest and lying if you are, having that disconnect between what you are saying and what you are doing. Another one is going to be just simple logic. Let's say your 1 rep max in the squat is 100 kilos and your 10 rep max is 75 kilos, which is a pretty common ratio. If someone tells you to do 10 sets of 10 with 1 minute rest with 70 to 80 kilos, does that make sense? Does that make any kind of logical sense? And then let's say you try the workout for some reason. It doesn't make sense, but you try it because this guy has a lot of followers. The workout goes horribly. You get like 2 sets in with 70 kilos and then you're done. Are you going to trust that source again? I would say probably not, just because it's a ridiculous workout and they clearly don't really know what they're doing, despite their many followers. Now, followers are important. If someone has more followers, it is more likely that they are a good source. But it's definitely not always the case. I see some accounts that don't have very many subscribers and don't have very many followers, and yet they are an excellent source, in my opinion. And then I see people with millions of followers. Chloe Ting! Sorry, I'm a little bit sick. Just got a Chloe Ting cough. I see people with tons of followers, but they are not a good source. So you have to keep in mind it is not a 100% correlation by any means. And I've noticed this myself on Quora versus YouTube. On Quora, I have 38 million something views, and people are far more willing to take my opinion as truth, as fact. Which is not good because sometimes, occasionally, rarely, I get something wrong. You shouldn't blindly trust me at all. On YouTube, people are far more willing to doubt what I say. Or they'll even say, well, this guy has so many million followers, you only have this many followers, so of course you are wrong, and he is right. Another one is results. If someone can get good results for themselves, it's more likely that their training system is going to be good, that they are a good source. If I see someone who is, overweight, and they're like, buy my shredding plan, well, you should question that, for sure. However, keep in mind that a few things make this a little bit less clear than you think. The first is going to be genetics. So someone like Jeff Cavaliere, he's always been lean. I think he's always been under 12% body fat his whole life. I don't think he's ever been above that. If you can find a picture, correct me, but I couldn't find anything where he's over 12% body fat in his whole life. So he's genetically gifted for being lean. That's part of his brand, Athlean-X. On the other hand, someone like Larry Wheels is massively strong. He's always been strong. But this is where something like genetics as well as potential drug use, in both of those circumstances, might cloud the picture. So if you're not willing to take drugs and maybe your genetics aren't so good, those immediately become less important sources because their situation is going to be very different from yours. Like, would I take training advice from Ronnie Coleman? Maybe in some ways, but you have to understand that his perspective is so different from most people's. So he's maybe not a very good source when it comes to training. Another big one is going to be the salesman or marketing attitude. So if you see a channel and they're like always pushing products, they're always pushing, training plans or some other product or service, like every video for a good portion of the video, that is going to be a big red flag. Why? Well, it shows that someone is primarily interested in money rather than helping people. I help tons of people for free. A lot of people don't even know I have a website, or they might not even know that I'm a coach or that I sell, training plans, that I actually have a service, just because I don't mention it that much. Because honestly, money is important, but it's not the most important thing for me. And this is going to be particularly true for supplements. There's no magic supplement. Someone like Mike Matthews, he owns a supplement company. I would say most of his living comes through the sale of supplements. But something I respect the hell out of is that he doesn't really push his supplements that much. He stands by them, he endorses them, of course, but he will straight up tell you supplements are not as important as training or diet. And so when I hear someone saying that, who sells supplements, that is amazing to hear. And immediately their credibility, in my book, goes up by like a factor of 10. Just because I know that they are an honest person. Because they are putting reality and the truth before money. Another one is if they follow the accepted best practices in the industry. So the fitness industry, it sort of has, some terms that are used. Let's say a superset or a drop set. And if someone calls a drop set something totally different, like if, let's say they call a drop set an Uber set, why are they doing that? Do they not know what a drop set is? Are they just calling it something different for marketing? But either way, if someone is using some kind of weird term, or if they're just not following the best practices of the industry, the standards that have already been set up, to me, that is a huge red flag. It's okay to do something different. It's okay to do something creative. But if someone is just doing something wildly strange, then I think that is a big red flag. Another one is going to be careful of those who seem extremely confident and those who speak in absolutes. For me, if I don't know something, I will say, I don't know. And there's lots of stuff that I don't know. I can probably find out. I can probably look it up, research it, find out what is the best practice. But if I don't know, I'll just say I don't know. Or I can say, I'll find out. There have been plenty of times where clients asked me something, and I just said, I don't know. I'll get back to you. And if someone never, ever says, I don't know, it's probably a good sign that they're full of it. So I'll see questions on Quora all the time, and I won't really have enough information to say for sure. For example, if someone says, I'm getting shoulder pain, what should I do? Well, if someone just says, you should do face pulls, that's not necessarily accurate because you don't know what is causing their shoulder pain. If someone is getting pain from bench pressing or overhead pressing or low bar back squats, those are all going to be completely different situations. So often I'll give multiple situations and I'll use a lot of qualifying words. So I might say, maybe you should do this, or perhaps you should do this, or this might help. But I will never say, this is the problem, you should absolutely do this, unless I am certain. And because a Quora question isn't very long, often I just don't have enough information to say for sure. So if you hear someone who is always speaking in absolutes, they're never saying these qualifying words like probably, maybe, likely. Often the most intelligent people, they don't speak the same as stupid people. Stupid people, they just think, this is the issue, this is the solution. Well, often things are a little bit more complicated, and you have to actually think about what could be the problem and what could be the solution. And the reason why a lot of successful fitness YouTubers are in the first category, they just say problem, solution, is because most people, they don't like to think. They just like to be told the answer. So if I give them like 5 possible solutions, they don't really like that. They just want to hear, this is what you should do. They just want to be told the answer. And I don't like doing that because often the answer is wrong. So often the best sources will seem kind of like wishy-washy. They might not give you a clear answer. They'll get asked a question like, how many sets per week should I do on bench press? And they'll give you a range. Or they'll be like, well, it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be that. Or maybe you should do some variations or something else. And then if someone is like, 8 sets per week, you automatically know that they are full of it. Another one is over-promising. So if someone came to me and they're a complete beginner and they said, Jeff, how many kilos of muscle can I gain in 1 year? I would probably say at least 5 kilos for a typical beginner. It could be 7, it could be 8, it could be 10 if they are super genetically gifted. However, I cannot promise more than 5 kilos, simply because I don't know any information about them. I don't know their genetics. I don't know if there could be some situations that delay their progress. And so with a lot of confidence, I could only say 5 kilos. Then they go to someone else, and this other coach says, oh, 10 kilos for sure. I could get you 10 kilos, no problem. 10 kilos, heck, I'll do it in 6 months, no problem. A typical beginner is going to go with that other person. They're not going to go with me, simply because they have the choice between 5 kilos and 10 kilos, and the person who is over-promising is going to get more clients. And honestly, that is part of the fitness industry. The people who lie and over-promise often do better. They make more money, they get more clients. And it sucks, but that's just sort of the reality of it. And protect yourself. If someone is promising far more than what other people are promising, you should absolutely question them. And this comes with any kind of like workout system or product or supplement or training or anything. Like if someone promises you abs in 2 weeks, be careful. Another one is going to be if they have been caught lying before. So if someone has failed a drug test in a natural competition, you kind of know their character. You kind of know what kind of person they are. Ditto with fake weights. If they are faking weights to get views and to seem stronger than they actually are, to make more money off of plans from like innocent teenagers that they're targeting with their physique, well, you kind of know what kind of person they are. And maybe they'll do better next time, maybe they'll change, but how much do people really change? If you're willing to do that multiple times, you've kind of shown your colors. You've kind of shown what kind of person you are. And so once you see that, you should automatically question even more everything they say in the future. Another thing is look at the content and look at the person. So assess each thing that a person says individually. So even if you trust a source, like let's say you trust me, you should not blindly trust everything that I say. You should always question everything I say. And that is going to protect you because I'm not always going to be right. I might make mistakes. It's going to be not very often because I'm very careful with what I say, but it still could happen. So you should always still question what I say. And I encourage that. I encourage you to question me because that's going to help me become a better coach and to keep learning. And finally, you should always get multiple sources. So if I am the only person in the fitness industry that you are following, you're messing up, okay? There are tons of good people. Check my videos on people I endorse who I think are really good and who know far more than me. So never get your information from only one source because that leaves you vulnerable to getting misinformation. All right, I hope that helped. It is a very difficult situation, especially if you're just getting into the fitness industry. It can be very, very difficult knowing who to trust. All right, that is it for today. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.